so much for joining me today. We are on our live stream today, and we are going to be talking about the power of meditation. And there's so much stuff on meditation, and people worry about doing it right, and people worry about all kinds of things. They say it's hard, and you have to be a master, and it's all just nonsense. Meditation is very important if you're going to be working magic. If you're going to be working magic, it's important that you learn how to discipline your mind, that you learn how to discipline your thought process. And it's very easy to get caught up in the machinations of different methods of meditation and doing it the right way. You have to understand that you meditate all the time. It's just that you meditate unconsciously. You meditate every time you're watching television. You meditate every time your mind wanders. You meditate every time you daydream. All right? It's just an undisciplined meditation. It's a meditation of mind wandering. And the kind of meditation that we're going to talk about today is a way to gently train your mind not to wander. And if you can understand the totality of the world of mentalism, as is described in the Hermetica, the Hermetic literature, it states that all things are mental. Everything's mental. Every form in the physical world is a mental construct first, and the realm of form is a result of the mind. We would say that everything has its equivalent in the astral. So if you want something in the physical, you must create it first in the astral, and also everything that is in the physical started in the astral, started in the mental, started in the mind. And that would be that ninth sphere on the tree of life for those people who are involved in the Kabbalah. So if you are having problems that you don't like, then you can safely assume that they have their astral double. And if you have a desire that you want to see manifest, you can be certain that you won't have it until you have its astral double. And so meditating helps us to not create astral doubles by default, which was what happens when our minds wander. It's the habitual thinking that's important, not the every so often kind of thinking. Sometimes people will do a visualization here and there, or they'll do a psalm, and they'll say, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. None of this works, because they don't understand what they're experiencing is proof that it works. They have proof that this works, because every time they have an experience of something negative in their lives, if they had discipline, they could follow it back and find where that train of habitual thought exists in their minds that is creating that thing, and change it so that they could get a different result. But they can't do that if they don't have discipline in their minds, because the mind tends to wander. The mind tends to be undisciplined and unruly. And we are very indulgent in that. We indulge in mind wandering. We indulge in messy thinking. And then we wonder why things don't work in our world and in our lives. We wonder why things are so crazy all the time. Well, because our minds are crazy all the time. But the wonderful thing is that it only takes a tiny little bit of light to dispel a lot of darkness. So just a small bit of meditating in a mindful manner every day is enough to take care of all manner of negative mind-wandering thought. Because negative mind-wandering thought is just darkness. It's just nonsense. So if we bring some light into that nonsense and into that darkness, it shines it away. And if you do it a little bit every day on a regular basis, you start to notice that nonsense becomes less and less and less interesting to your mind. Okay? So how do you do it? Well, the easiest way to discipline the mind is to find a thought and focus on that thought and give yourself a time limit. Give yourself maybe 5 minutes to where you're focusing on a thought and bringing that thought gently back again and again and again. Bring your attention to that thought again and again and again. And when your mind wanders, you don't get upset. You don't get mad at it. It's just the nature of your mind. So what you do is you just gently bring it back. And so there's a lot of different methods that you can use to do that. One of them is just the idea of repeating the thought as words in your mind. So for instance, if you had the thought of peace as a seed that you wanted to plant, you could bring your mind back to the word peace again and again and again. And every time your mind wandered, you could bring it back to the word peace. And and it's very much like you hear, I think it's transcendental meditation teaches the idea of they give you some sort of special mantra and they charge you for it. They charge you a lot of money for it. And they give you a very special mantra and you're supposed to sit with this mantra and anytime your mind wanders, you bring it back to the mantra over and over and over again. And according to them, this mantra is more powerful than other thoughts. I don't know. Maybe that's true. I don't do that. I haven't gone into that, so I don't do that. But the principle is the same for any kind of meditation, that you bring your mind back again and again to a thought over and over again. But you can choose the thought you want. You don't need to have some guru teach you what the thought is. You can, just for purposes of discipline, it could be anything. It could be you could think Microsoft over and over again, and just for discipline's sake, that would work. But if you're looking to focus your mind on a quality and plant a seed of something in your mind, it's a good idea to find a seed thought that you're working on. Like I say, you can use the thought of peace. You can use the thought of wealth. You could use the thought of joy. You could use the thought of beauty. Any thoughts that you want. And you bring your mind back to that thought again and again and again. And when your mind wanders, you just gently bring it back. Now, what happens is as you get more used to doing this, and you are working more and more within the inner realms, you'll notice that you come in contact with spiritual guidance on a more profound level. So sometimes during the midst of a meditation, when you're doing this particular technique, where you're bringing your mind back to a thought over and over again, sometimes when your mind wanders, it's just usually like probably 90% of the time at first, if not more, it's just because your mind is showing you how undisciplined it is, and just gently you're going to bring it back. Sometimes, though, when your mind wanders, it's not that your mind is being undisciplined, it's that your inner guidance is bringing you into another train of thought to teach you something, to show you something, to bring you somewhere, to give you something. And it's at first, sometimes it can be hard to discern the difference, but after a while you become really good at it. Because when your inner teacher brings you into a place of learning that is different than your normal waking consciousness, it doesn't feel like mind wandering. It feels like mind expansion. It feels like hyper awareness. All right. So sometimes when your mind wanders, it's okay to follow it a little bit, and then gently bring it back, and then follow it again, and then bring it back, and follow it again, and bring it back. There's two types of activity that you notice again and again and again when you work on a meditation like this. There's one is your mind is at rest, and one is your mind in motion. And when your mind is active, and it's your ego, it's a lot of busy thinking. It's a lot of really busy thinking. Your mind racing thoughts. That's your mind in activity. And then mind at rest sometimes is an emptiness of thought. Now, when you're working with your inner guidance, when you go into your mind in activity, an active mind, your mind in motion, you'll notice that those phases, it's not your mind racing. It's your mind receiving information. It's your mind receiving inspiration. And then you go back into mind at rest. And you go back and forth, mind in motion, mind at rest, mind in motion, mind at rest. And you start to discern the difference between when your mind in motion is your ego thoughts versus your higher thoughts, your thoughts of guidance. And your mind at rest, you start to lose sense of the fact that you are in rest. Because what happens is when you start noticing these things, you notice that when your mind is at rest and you get that no thought moment, when you notice that your mind is at rest, you notice that your mind starts being active by noticing that your mind is at rest. And so it's this constant awareness that unfolds again and again and again. Now, there's a lot that can happen in the midst of a meditation. Sometimes when you're meditating, all you feel is bored and you can't wait for it to be over. And those are really, really important times. A lot of times when you're really bored in the midst of a meditation, it's because there's a pattern of thinking that is ready to be transformed or destroyed or recreated in a new way. And the ego mind likes its status quo, and it doesn't like change. And so it's going to get you to start thinking that this is stupid, or that you're bored, or you don't want to do this anymore. Don't you have stuff that you got to get done? Isn't this a waste of time? Right? And so then you just gently notice those things and you bring it back to your thought that you're working on. Bring it back again and again and again. And eventually you'll notice that a lot of times either that just subsides, or you get underneath whatever that is, whatever you're resisting. And when you get underneath it, sometimes you open up a bunch of thought forms that you didn't even know that you were living in. And then your mind starts to vacillate again between mind in action and mind at rest. And when your mind is in action, when you're discovering new thought forms that are being released, you can come up with all kinds of fear and dread and upset, and you can have an emotional experience in the midst of all of that. And even within that, you just gently bring your mind back again to the thought again and again and again. And you recognize that as you do this, that your deep mind is being purified at a very profound level. And so you can make progress in areas of your life exponentially greater than without using a technique of meditation. You get to the point where things are I don't know, maybe when I was first introduced to doing this, it seemed like I stuff that used to take me a year to understand, I was getting in a day. You really notice an increase in your ability to process spiritual information and to let go of old patterns and to invite light into your life and to feel comfortable accessing your deep mind, to feel comfortable living in your mind. And if you can feel comfortable living in your mind and living in your body and living in your soul, then you start to experience a sense of peace. And when you can experience a sense of peace, then that peace starts to expand. And then you decide that that's what you want more than anything else. And then things really start to take off. Because once you have a visceral understanding that this is all I want, the only thing I really want is peace. That's my goal, is peace. All the rest of it happens easily. Because we start to understand that peace is a package deal. It's not like, okay, as long as I have peace, it's fine. I don't need money, or I don't need these things. I don't want these things anymore because all I want is peace. Well, that's not necessary. When you go for peace, all of the things that you naturally want are there for you. They're there as a result of that. So if you're looking for prosperity, prosperity exists within that peace. If you're looking for good relationships exist within that peace. If you're looking for a better career, the better career exists within that peace. But you start to understand that if peace is your first goal, rather than putting that off to some other later date until these other things get handled, you don't waste time going after things or forms that are eventually just going to hurt you anyway. Because peace now, like I said, it's a package deal. Peace then offers you forms that are of a higher caliber than the ones you might have chosen for yourself. And so then you get into a point when you're meditating on a regular basis where you can learn, you have this ability to check in with your inner guidance in a way that's very, very practical. Because you're so accessed to it. You have such access to that inner guidance. When you don't know what to do or where to turn or what to say, you have a tool where you can go deep within and ask and really receive those answers and utilize those answers. And then you start to prove for yourself and to yourself that this guidance system is real, it's accurate, and it always works. So you're never feeling wondering anymore. Am I going to make the wrong choice? Or am I going to make a bad choice? Or am I going to do the wrong thing? Because now you know how to ask. Now you know how to ask and you know how to receive the information. If you're just asking but you don't have a disciplined mind, you won't know how to receive the answer. Because your mind is so busy trying to come up with its own answers that it's not even in a place where it's capable of receiving an answer. But if you empty your mind a little bit every day, just a little bit every day, 5 minutes is all it takes. Taking 5 minutes in the morning to do this puts your mind in a place where you are capable of receiving answers all day long. All day long. And that's a beautiful thing. So I invite you to take some time in the mornings is best, and then maybe also in the evenings if you get this down, and just start out with a minute. Just put a minute on your watch and do your minute meditation, and then see how you do. And if that works, then add another minute the next day. And keep adding a minute until you get to a point where it feels comfortable, but you better not add anymore. If you go too far too fast, you're just going to shut the whole thing down because it's too much. But if you can get up to 5 minutes a day, that's a really, really good thing. Now, if you can get up to 20 minutes a day without a lot of struggle, and that might take that may be something that you build up over a longer period of time, that's an excellent time frame for meditating every day. If you can get to the point where you can do a 20-minute meditation without a lot of struggle, you're in a really good place for being able to have very successful magic and very successful guidance. But if you don't have something, at least 5 minutes a day that you've worked up to, your mind is not really ever going to be disciplined enough to have a context through which you can manifest anything other than by rote, because your habitual thoughts are too powerful for you to crack into them. But if you're meditating a little bit every day, you're opening up an entirely different part of your mind that's been dormant for probably most of your life, unless you're an active meditator. And then that part of your mind, when it's open, has all power over the lower mind. And that lower mind no longer has power to create by default in the same ways, unless you give it permission. All right? So give it a shot. Give it a shot. Try it for 30 days. Try it for 30 days. Build up to 5 minutes, and then take that 5 minutes and try 30 full days of 5 minutes a day of meditation doing this. And see, maybe make some notes. Be scientific about it, and see if you don't have a different experience as far as getting results from your magic and getting results from your inner guidance. Now, if you're already meditating 5 minutes a day, maybe you want to kick that up a few. And then if you're getting to 20 minutes a day, that's great. Now, maybe if you're already meditating 20 minutes a day and it's easy for you and you like it, maybe start a second meditation at night before you go to bed. Maybe start adding a second one and build that up. Now, if you can get to 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at night, you're well on your way to spiritual mastery. All right? Give it a shot. Let me know how it works. I'm interested to find out. All right, well, this has been amazing, and I can't wait to work with you again And until that time, blessed be.